This is the Thrustmaster T248, the company's brand new entry-level force feedback wheel designed to dominate the low-budget sim racing market. If you ask me, it's almost perfect, but at $400, it stands in an awkward segment of the sim racing market. In this video, I'll be explaining exactly why, as well as taking you all through this wheel's new quirks and features, its positives, its negatives, and so much more. The Thrustmaster T248 is designed to replace the popular T150 force feedback wheel and aimed directly against the Logitech G923. It's created for the PlayStation 4 and 5 as well as PC and will be released on October 21st, 2021 with a $400 price tag. Thrustmaster was kind enough to send me one for review, hence why I have it ahead of time. But before some of y'all click away, I could care less if it was sent to me for free. If it's a bad product, I'll let everybody know like I've done many times in the past, and I'll be making the things I dislike about this wheel very clear throughout this review. Also, if you're interested in checking out the unboxing and first impressions video I already made on this wheel, you can find a link to it in the video description or by clicking the little pop-up right here. Anyways, let's get right into it. The T248 is a relatively small wheel at 27 cm in diameter, making it nearly identical in size to the Logitech G series wheels. From a design perspective, I, among many others in the community, initially did not like how this wheel looked, but in person I've grown to like it. It has a modern yet sleek design and even looks similar to the steering wheel in my Miata. Spoiler alert, that's the car I bought for anyone who might have been wondering. This is a big upgrade compared to the kid toy look and feel of the T150. However, I'm not a big fan of how they went about creating the outer wheel rim. You see, the outer part of the wheel, the part where your palm rests, is covered in soft leather, which feels nice and is even relatively grippy. However, the inner half, the part where your fingers rest, is made from hard plastic. This causes the wheel rim to not only look a little strange, but it also drastically takes away from the premium feel of it once you're holding onto it. It's almost like the plastic is there to constantly remind you that this is a toy. I'm not really sure why they didn't just completely wrap it in leather such as Logitech does, other than to maybe save a few bucks in material cost. The rest of the wheel is also made almost entirely of plastic, which is expected in an entry-level wheel. I will say, however, that by using different textures and finishes, Thrustmaster did a fantastic job making this wheel look a lot more premium than your typical plastic wheel. On it are 25 action buttons including 2 dual position encoders, and even a small display which is practically unheard of in a low entry wheel. I'm a big fan of the display. It's a cool feature that, although I don't find particularly useful, it makes the wheel look a little cooler. The display can feature a variety of telemetry data, and you can even switch between the various options by pressing the display button located on the wheel. Some of the information it can display includes current speed, engine RPM, current position, number of laps, personal fastest lap, among a few other things. It's very important to note that this feature only works with a handful of games at this very moment. However, Thrustmaster is currently in the process of making this feature available on more and more titles, so that by the time this wheel releases, or by the time you're watching this video, a lot more games will have compatibility, and all of those can be found on the official Thrustmaster website. The wheel itself feels good to hold onto. It's ergonomically designed to sit well in your hands, and all the buttons and paddle shifters are at close reach. The buttons themselves don't necessarily feel special or tactile to press down or anything like that, but they ultimately do the job. Moving on to the paddle shifters, this is without a doubt the part I hate most about the T248. Although they are heavily marketed as tactical magnetic paddle shifters, they are far worse than the old T150 paddle shifters if you ask me. Now let me explain. Judging off the feel alone, I guess they do feel pretty good. They react quickly and allow you to shift up and down in a matter of milliseconds. However, they are obnoxiously loud. And by obnoxiously loud, I mean obnoxiously in all caps. I'm not even going to bother to put it into words, just take a listen. These things are so loud that not only can you hear them from across the room and probably into the other room, but you can even hear them when you have headphones on. Unfortunately, it doesn't end there. Whilst the old T150 and TMX featured brushed metal long paddle shifters which not only looked cool but felt very nice to hold on to, the T248's paddle shifters are short and chubby and made from plastic, which severely takes away from the immersion and quality aspect of this wheel. In essence, I despise these paddle shifters and wish they simply used the same ones found in other Thrustmaster wheels. Taking a look at the T248's wheelbase, it's definitely something new, and kinda even looked like what I'd imagine a Thrustmaster direct drive wheelbase to look like. Here lies the hybrid drive force feedback mechanism, which I'll talk about soon. Unfortunately, this wheelbase does not have a quick release, so you will not be able to swap wheel rims or anything of that manner, which is expected but a little disappointing for a $400 product if you ask me. Underneath you find where the power cable, USB cable, and even a port for the Thrustmaster handbrake or shifter, if you have one, plugs in. Moreover, here the included table clamp can be attached, and you can also find mounting holes for those of you using the Sunny cockpit or wheel stand. The entire wheelbase is made from tough plastic and weighs less than you would expect. Now let's get to the part that you all have been waiting for. How does the Thrustmaster T248 and its hybrid drive force feedback technology perform in game? Without hesitation, I'll say that at its max settings, this wheel provides more force feedback and resistance than most will ever need, and especially more than any type of beginner will need. I couldn't find any information regarding the wheel's exact torque numbers, but it definitely feels more significant than something like the Logitech G29 and G920. This wheel, however, is surprisingly slow to snap back. What I mean by this is that when you're turning and let go of the wheel in order to straighten out your car, the wheel doesn't straighten out as fast as I would like. In that sense, it almost feels identical to the T150, but slower than the G29, which I would say is a better beginner's drifting wheel. I should also mention that this wheel has a maximum rotation of 900 degrees. Something that is heavily marketed about the T248 are its 3 unique force feedback settings. Within the wheel software, 3 force feedback presets are available. The first is 100% proportional to the force requested by the game, which gives a linear feel to the driver. The second enhances the force feedback to give better skid control, which is useful for rally driving. And the third boosts the force feedback to enhance the feel of the road, bumps, curbs, and all those types of things. Now, y'all know I'm always completely honest with y'all, and the truth is, as much as I tried and really want to say that I did, I couldn't feel a significant difference between all 3 presets, no matter the game I was playing or all the fidgeting I did within the game settings. I'm not saying these presets don't work, I just personally didn't feel much of a difference between them, so that's all I'm going to say about that. Regarding the force feedback though, you all might have heard me say hybrid drive a few times throughout this video, but what does that even mean? From what I understand, it's just a term Thrustmaster uses to emphasize that this wheel has a mixed belt and gear force feedback mechanism to not only provide a smoother, more fluid driving experience, but to also limit the amount of overall sound coming out of the wheelbase. And it certainly works, as not only is this wheelbase significantly quieter than something like the G29 or even the T150, but it's also a lot smoother and less clunky than those. As I already said, the force feedback is good. I could argue that it's even really good, but unfortunately the wheel is a bit slow to snap back, and the presets didn't have a significant impact from my experience. Regardless, for any beginner and probably even amateur, the T248's force feedback capabilities will more than suffice. Now let's talk about the included T3PM pedals, which along with the wheel are also brand new. The T3PM pedals are a direct replacement to the now old but massively popular Thrustmaster T3PAs and can be purchased separately for $130. Although they are not load cell pedals, they do feature a lot of significant improvements over the old ones. For starters, instead of a typical potentiometer based sensor, these use what Thrustmaster calls hard magnetic technology. Pretty much, from my understanding, it uses magnetic sensors to transmit the signal of the pedals back into the game. Not only will this make them more precise to your inputs, but it will also significantly increase the pedals' long-term reliability, as they won't lose performance over time such as potentiometer sensors usually do. Similar to the higher end TLCMs, you can also interchange the springs and fine-tune the resistance of the brake pedal, which is great as it'll allow you to configure it to your liking. The default silver spring that comes installed requires too little force to push down in my opinion, so after using it for a while I interchanged it with the other optional spring that comes included, which gave me a far better experience. The pedals themselves are made almost entirely of plastic with the exception of the metal pedal plates. Although they are made of plastic, I didn't feel any flex or anything of that sort. Thrustmaster claims these pedals can withstand up to 440 pounds of force, so although I don't have the means to put that to the test, I don't think any average sim racer will have a problem with their build quality. I certainly didn't, at least. Something I do wish these had are integrated carpet spikes, such as the ones found in the Logitech pedals. This product is marketed towards beginner sim racers who probably don't have a dedicated cockpit or wheel stand and will most likely place them down on a carpeted floor, so I'm not sure why Thrustmaster overlooked that. Overall, I'm a fan of the T3PMs. They're definitely not on the same level as the higher end TLCMs, but I was still able to adjust, feel comfortable, and hit some decent lap times with them, which is what a decent pedal set is ultimately intended to do. At the beginning of this video, I stated that the T248 stands at an awkward segment in the sim racing market, but due to this video being longer than I expected, I'll be talking more about the T248's pricing in a separate short video. However, I will say this, if the T150 and TMX do not get discontinued, they will continue to be Thrustmaster's primary entry-level wheels at their $200 price points. In this case, the T248 will be a step above those wheels. However, at $400, the T248 is competing against Thrustmaster's own T300 RS, which although I've never owned nor used, it seems like a better overall wheel on paper. So this is what I mean when I say that this wheel is very awkwardly priced. But again, I'll speak more about that in a separate video. Now, in terms of the title of this video, is the T248 worth $400? Honestly, it's extremely difficult to give a firm yes or no. If you ask me, this wheel far surpasses the T150 and TMX and Logitech G29 and G920, but then again, it also costs just about double those. As much as I love Thrustmaster, everything they do for the sim racing community, and all the support they've given my channel, I honestly think this wheel is just a little bit too expensive for what it is. Although it provides fantastic force feedback, versatility, and adjustability, it has too much plastic, doesn't allow users to interchange wheel rims, and isn't as quick to react as other slightly more expensive offerings like the TSXW, making it very hard to justify at its current price point. However, and a massive however, is that if this wheel ever drops to around the $300 price bracket, it would be completely unrivaled and would be an excellent bang for your buck product. But right now, being completely honest, although it's a fantastic beginner's wheel, it's just a little bit too expensive in my opinion. As always, thank you all for watching, stay safe, and have a fantastic rest of your day.